Your entire life is a mathematical lie. Society engineered an invisible cage, buying your existence at a wholesale discount while you blindly grind toward a retirement you will never reach. There is one brutal way out of this financial slaughterhouse. Look away and remain a wage slave forever. Have you ever felt the cold sweat of realizing your entire life might be a mathematical lie? You sit there in the dead of night, staring at a glowing screen, your chest tight with a panic you cannot quite articulate. You have played by all their rules. You have ground your bones into dust, sacrificed your youth, and traded your most precious hours for a paycheck, only to look at your bank balance and see a pathetic, humiliating number staring back at you. It is a profoundly sickening sensation. It is not just about the absence of money. It is the terrifying epiphany that you are running on an accelerating treadmill, coughing on the smoke of your own exhaustion, yet somehow moving backward. You are drowning in a room full of air, and your financial oxygen tank is completely empty. Welcomes you to the brutal truth. If you want to survive the financial slaughterhouse and support us in exposing these harsh realities, hit that subscribe button right now so we can keep bringing you the unfiltered, life-saving truth. I know the suffocating grip of that swamp because I nearly died at the bottom of it. Rewind the clock to my late 20s. I was the textbook definition of a financial tragedy, hiding behind the mask of a modern hustler. The sheer terror of being trapped in a corporate cubicle until my hair turned gray created a toxic, desperate vulnerability in my mind. I suffered from a lethal strain of fear of missing out. I watched teenagers on the internet flaunting rented exotic cars, claiming they had cracked the code to infinite wealth in Web 3. My desperation blinded me to the illusion. I took my life savings, every single dollar born from my blood, sweat, and tears, and fed it directly into the crypto meat grinder. I chased green candles like a starving addict. I bought the dip, convinced I was a visionary holding on for a massive recovery, only to realize I was riding a dead cat bounce right before the market obliterated my entire net worth. I was left with an empty ledger and a silence so loud it physically hurt. But the human capacity for delusion is boundless when you are backed into a corner. Desperate to salvage my pride, I pivoted to dropshipping. I became a creature of the night, burning my retinas at 3 a.m. testing Facebook ads, battling furious customers, and wrestling with shattered supply chains. On paper, my revenue looked like a triumph. I was pulling in 5 figures a month. But here is the naked, sickening reality the slick gurus in their $1,000 masterclasses conveniently bury. My profit margins were a ghost. By the time I paid the platforms, the ads, and the shipping fees, I was left with literal pennies. I was suffocating under a mountain of hollow cash. It was a mirage. I had not built an empire. I had built myself a second prison, one with far more anxiety and absolutely zero security. This is my absolute declaration of war. I am sick to my stomach watching the toxic garbage flooding your feeds every single day. The charlatans selling you overnight riches. The frauds whispering that you can copy-paste your way to millions. They are not selling you a business model. They are selling you financial suicide, beautifully wrapped in a shiny PDF. They prey on your deep exhaustion. They know you are tired, and they weaponize that fatigue to sell you a lottery ticket masquerading as education. I am not here to sell you a fantasy. I am the survivor who crawled through the mud, and I am reaching my hand back down to pull you out. But hear this clearly. The road ahead is ruthless. It requires a horrifying amount of discipline and the courage to swallow a bitterly cold pill. We are going to strip away the toxic positivity and look at the ugly, naked machinery of true wealth creation. If you are looking for a magical shortcut, walk away now. But if you are ready to stop playing the victim and build indestructible leverage, brace yourself. Your survival starts today. To truly survive, you must first understand the invisible cage they have built around you, a cage constructed entirely out of the virtue of hard work. For generations, society has forcefully injected a paralyzing narrative into our veins. Put your head down, trade your hours for dollars, save a fraction of your dwindling purchasing power, and someday, when your joints ache and your best years are behind you, you might be allowed to rest. This is not a blueprint for prosperity. It is a masterclass in slow, agonizing submission. I remember sitting in my car during my lunch break, eating a stale sandwich, doing the math on a napkin. I calculated my hourly wage, subtracted taxes, rent, and basic survival costs, and realized I would need to work for 300 uninterrupted years just to afford the life my corporate overlords were living. The math does not lie, but the system relies entirely on you being too exhausted to do the arithmetic. We are taught to romanticize the grind. We wear our sleep deprivation like a badge of honor, bragging about 80-hour work weeks while our bank accounts barely tread water. This is the ultimate scam. Your employer is buying your life at a wholesale discount and keeping the retail profit for themselves. You are not a partner in their enterprise. You are a replaceable cog, lubricated by your own desperation. As long as your income is mathematically tethered to the ticking of a clock, you are a prisoner. There are only 24 hours in a day, which means your earning potential has a hard, impenetrable ceiling, while inflation and the cost of living have absolutely no limit. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Working harder inside a broken paradigm is like running faster on a hamster wheel. It only accelerates your exhaustion. The wealthy do not trade time for money. They never have. They view time as the ultimate, irreplaceable currency, and they use their money to buy it back. Escaping this trap requires a complete and utter psychological rewiring. You have to mourn the death of the middle-class dream and accept that nobody is coming to save you. No government policy, no corporate promotion, and no stroke of luck will pull you from the quicksand. Once you realize that blind exertion is a dead end, you are forced to seek a new mechanism for survival, one that separates your time from your income. This was the turning point in my life, the moment I stopped looking for a magical side hustle and started obsessing over the architecture of true leverage. Leverage is the only force in the universe capable of breaking the chains of the hourly wage. The gurus will tell you to buy real estate or invest in index funds, but they conveniently ignore the fact that you need capital to play that game. And if you are broke, your capital is zero. I had no money to leverage, so I had to leverage the only thing I had left: my mind. I retreated into absolute isolation. I stopped watching television. I cut off the friends who were content drinking their weekends away, and I dedicated every waking second to acquiring rare, high-income skills. In the modern economy, the market does not pay you for your effort. It pays you in exact proportion to the magnitude of the problems you can solve. If you can be replaced by a software script or a teenager halfway across the world willing to work for a fraction of your wage, you are standing on a trapdoor. I realized I had to become undeniable. I forced myself to learn the complex, agonizing skills that most people are simply too lazy to attempt. I dove into understanding human psychology, the mechanics of digital persuasion, and the architecture of sales systems. True leverage in the digital age is building something once and selling it 1,000 times without expending an extra ounce of energy. It is creating media that broadcasts your expertise to the entire globe while you eat dinner. When I built my first automated system, it was a revelation that shook me to my core. I woke up, checked my phone, and saw a transaction that had occurred at 4 a.m. I had made money while I was unconscious. For the first time in my entire existence, the link between my time and my survival had been severed. That feeling is more intoxicating than any narcotic. But building this machinery requires an upfront investment of intellectual agony and a willingness to embrace total failure. But acquiring the skills to build these systems brings you face to face with the most agonizing filter of all: the brutal, unsexy passage of time. This is where the absolute majority of people break. The internet has severely damaged our dopamine receptors, conditioning us to expect instantaneous validation. We want the six-pack after one workout, and we want the financial empire after 3 weeks of building a website. I will tell you the absolute truth about building wealth. It is excruciatingly boring. It is a lonely, silent grind in the dark where nobody is clapping for you, and for a very long time, you will see absolutely zero results. When I finally started building real, scalable assets instead of chasing quick cash, I spent over 18 months pouring my soul into projects that yielded nothing but crickets. My bank account was stagnant. My family whispered that I was wasting my life, and my own mind constantly begged me to quit and go back to the safety of a paycheck. This period is the crucible. It is the valley of despair that actively weeds out the tourists from the practitioners. You have to understand the mathematical law of compounding. Compounding does not look like a steady staircase. It looks like a flat line that stretches out for miles before suddenly exploding upward into a violent hockey stick curve. Almost everyone quits during the flat line. They misinterpret the lack of immediate financial reward as a lack of progress. What they do not realize is that the foundation is being poured underground. You are accumulating knowledge, refining your systems, and building a microscopic edge that will eventually multiply upon itself. If you cannot endure the silence of the flat line, you do not deserve the explosion of the curve. You have to develop a psychopathic level of patience. You must learn to fall in love with the daily, monotonous execution of your tasks rather than the fantasy of the end result. When you detach your emotions from the immediate outcome and bind your self-worth to your daily disciplines, you become utterly unstoppable. The gurus sell you the finish line, but they never show you the thousands of hours of absolute, soul-crushing boredom required to cross it. When you finally internalize that time is your weapon rather than your enemy, the noise of the world fades, leaving you with a profound and terrifying ultimate choice. You can close this video, shake your head, and retreat back into the warm, comforting illusion of the Matrix. You can go back to complaining about the economy, blaming your boss, and waiting for a miracle that is never, ever going to arrive. Or you can draw a line in the sand right here, right now, and declare that the victimhood ends today. Wealth is not a lottery ticket you scratch off. It is a brutal, demanding choice that will require you to sacrifice the person you are today for the person you have the potential to become. I look back at that desperate, exhausted version of myself in my 20s, and I feel a profound sense of gratitude. Not because of the pain, but because that pain became the fuel that burned down my excuses. You have the exact same capacity within you. The blueprint is not hidden. It is just cloaked in hard work and disguised as extreme discomfort. Start building your leverage. Start acquiring the skills that terrify you. Embrace the boredom. survive the flatline, and refuse to let the modern world sedate your ambition. This is your one life, your one solitary chance to experience what it means to be truly free. Do not let them steal it from you. If this message resonated in the deepest, most authentic part of your core, if you are ready to reject the comforting lies and walk the harsh path to absolute autonomy, subscribe to @richhabitsdaily-5. We are building a tribe of survivors, a collective of minds refusing to settle for mediocrity. The journey is long, but the view from the other side is worth every single drop of blood. The journey to absolute financial autonomy begins with a brutal awakening. The traditional path of trading time for money is a carefully constructed trap designed to keep you exhausted and compliant. True wealth is not generated by working relentlessly within a broken system, but by fundamentally rewiring your psychology to escape it. To break free, you must shift your focus from blind exertion to the architecture of true leverage. Since capital is often scarce at the beginning, your mind becomes your greatest asset. By isolating yourself from distractions and obsessively acquiring rare, complex skills, such as digital persuasion, human psychology, and automated systems, you can build mechanisms that generate income independently of your physical time. However, this transformation requires enduring the agonizing flatline of the compounding curve. Building scalable assets is a lonely, excruciatingly boring process that demands a psychopathic level of patience. Most people quit because they mistake a lack of immediate financial reward for a lack of progress, failing to realize that their foundation is still being poured underground. Ultimately, achieving true freedom is a deliberate, uncompromising choice. It demands sacrificing your current comfort, rejecting societal excuses, and binding your self-worth to daily, disciplined execution rather than immediate validation. If you can survive the valley of despair and refuse to let the modern world sedate your ambition, you will finally sever the link between your time and your survival, unlocking the ultimate currency: absolute freedom. True wealth is not the accumulation of dollars through excessive labor. It is the total decoupling of your time from your income. You are not rewarded for your hard work, but for the magnitude of the problems you solve and the leverage you build. The bridge between wage slavery and absolute autonomy is constructed with rare skills, extreme patience, and the willingness to endure long periods of invisible progress. Audit and isolate. Cut out cheap dopamine. Stop mindless scrolling. Stop binge-watching television, and distance yourself from environments that encourage complacency. Reclaim those wasted hours. Acquire a rare skill. Choose one high-leverage digital skill, such as copywriting, coding, sales architecture, or digital marketing, that cannot be easily replaced by basic AI or cheap labor. Dedicate at least 1 hour every single day to mastering it. Build systems, not wages. Start creating assets, whether it is an online business, informational media, or automated software, that can be built once and sold infinitely while you sleep. Embrace the flatline. Commit to a minimum of 12 to 18 months of relentless, daily execution without expecting a single dollar in return. Fall in love with the daily habit of building rather than obsessing over the immediate reward. What is one major distraction you are willing to permanently cut out of your life today to start building your future? Please drop your answer in the comments below. Let's share our perspectives and build a community of accountability. If this message resonated with you and you are ready to walk the path of true autonomy, please subscribe to @richhabitsdaily5. Your support deeply motivates us to keep creating powerful, life-changing content for you.